Welcome all to another episode of The Scoop, your go-to program to cut through all of the noise surrounding Juventus transfer rumors and to get a little dose of truth of what's truly happening behind the scenes. My name is Zach, and of course, I'm joined by Frederic, from who we get our inside information. Frederic, how's it going, man?
Personally, pretty well. Juventus related could be better.
Well, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today, right?
Yeah.
Um, we have done a transfer show, The Scoop, for which I'm wearing our lovely shirt
Beautiful.
for what, 9 months now. And in that time, Juventus has brought in 4 players. So we obviously have been trying to nudge them just for the sake of, it's hard to do a transfer show when there's no transfers. But we do it regardless, and we're welcoming everybody live. So we've got Mohammed, Blind Mixer, JJ, Ozymandias, Sachin. We appreciate you guys and everyone watching. We're really excited you're here, and we're really excited to share what information we have today with you. And of course, I have to pause because Federico is in the chat from the Juventus Supporters Club Belgium, from whom I've got my lovely scarves, who also helped me with my ticket and my club membership. So not only shout out to Federico, who's in the chat right now for the Juventus Supporters Club Belgium, personally for helping me enjoy my experience in Turin, but also a general shout out to all Juventus clubs around the world. It is a fantastic way to get access to tickets, as well as communities of folks who love Juventus as well. So impromptu plug for the clubs, but Federico was absolutely amazing to work with. Great to meet in person outside the stadium, and I appreciate him and everything he does greatly. And I know Federico, he's someone you know, right?
Yeah. I know him, and I was fortunate enough to meet him personally, as did you. And what can I say? What can I add to those beautiful words? It was amazing. He helped us out. Really, really kind fellow. Even today, he reposted our scoop link. So shout out to him for doing that as well. And like, I can recommend everybody to join a Juventus official fan club, especially if you plan on going or making the trip to Turin, because that's where they're there for. And I can only pray that that you guys have such a wonderful president as Federico, who can help you with your trip and everything surrounding that. So big shout out to them and him.
And in the spirit of shout outs, I'm going to steal the mic for just a second. I know everybody wants to hear about the transfer updates, but I have something slightly more important that I personally need to get off my chest. If folks would just briefly rewind with me to November of 2024, I was doing another episode of the Turn Giants podcast, and I was joined by a somewhat crazy, filthy talking European named Frederic for the first time. And since that moment, we have done over 80 episodes together. And Frederic has very recently, actually kind of over the course of our Turin trip, eclipsed 100 episodes under the Turin Giants umbrella. And
Wow.
one, I want to acknowledge and reward the milestone, because as someone who's also done over 100, I know it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort to do this. After all, we're not paid to do this at all. But speaking personally, just over that time, you've become a really good friend of mine. We enjoy doing the scoop together. We enjoy doing it's black and white together, as our many contexts. And it was an absolute pleasure to meet you in person. And so for myself, congratulations, Frederic. Thank you for all you do. And for those in chat and those live and those listening to after the fact, maybe either throw a little comment in the chat, comment on the YouTube video, a little thumbs up for my man Frederic, who works really hard manning his phone for the sake of the scoop and our other content for absolutely no benefit other than the appreciation and the joy of interacting with all of you. So Frederic, congratulations on over 100 at this point. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, man. I had no idea, and I have to say, the two top rewarding things for me are meeting people like you, Zach, because I can call you friend now, legitimately, because we've met in real life and exchanged some unrelated Juventus things with each other, which is always nice. So I consider you a good friend. And over those 100 episodes, we did partially or almost together, and that I get to meet, the people in chat virtually and also in real life, because that's the main reason why we do that. And shout out to you, Zach, for helping me climb on board the Turin Giants train and helping me develop, and for keeping in touch with me and molding me, so to speak, into the whole process. So thank you, and a big shout out to everybody in the live, not just here, but also on our post games on the Beppe show with our good friend G Just Juve. Thank you guys so much. Really means the world to me.
Ozymandias says Farhad out for we don't get paid. Farhad doesn't get paid either. Turin Giants, we are just well, at least as of now. Oh no, we're just a group of dads. We work our day jobs. And we just really enjoy each other and Juventus. And I think it really jumped to the next level for me when we started doing lives, because interacting with all of you is a lot of fun. So we're enjoying it. We'll see what the future holds for Turin Giants in terms of monetization and so forth. Right now, we're just sort of enjoying ourselves. Like, we made these scoop shirts out of fun. You can buy them at our website. But it is really just sort of a communal thing. And, meeting people in Turin who are like, hey, you guys are the Turin Giants guys. We love you. Was really cool. So, and we appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we're like Juve management, all this effort and still no money.
except we're not getting paid. See, we're asking for money. They're not paying money. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is the problem, and maybe the theme for today. All right, but okay, I had to interrupt because I want to do a shout out, my friend. It is, I think, milestones like this, we give a lot to this, should be rewarded. And so I appreciate the patience of those watching for us to allow me to digress down the milestone thing. But I think everyone's here to talk about transfers. As we know, just maybe if you were living under a rock or you've come back from outer space, Juventus has not signed anybody other than youth prospects this window. But there has been a very vocal request from Spalletti, as well as very visible effort made by guys like Ottolini to bring in players. Yet as we stand here January 31st, early afternoon, at least in the United States, nobody for the senior team has been signed. So with that in mind, we are going to get into what we can expect maybe over the next 48 hours, give or take, until the end of the window. And that is where we apply Frederick's contacts, who are willing to share inside information on the condition of anonymity, and we provide that to you. What we do is we then attribute a temperature to each one of those players that is sort of akin to a probability. As all of you know, as any football fan knows, things can shift very quickly. What we're going to do, and this is how we generally do these episodes, is we fly through our program, folks. Put your questions about players, about management, whatever it might be, or if you're like DP Hellner, you want to ask about when Kevin's going to shave his head. We will address all those questions after we get through our list of 7 names, and we will go one by one. So please put your questions in the chat. We will be monitoring and going through those in a minute. Frederic, this is the longest introduction I've ever done. Have I missed anything, or can we get to it?
No, it was amazing, but let's get to our players, or our potential players.
No, this is the wrong deck. So obviously we're smooth. This was a while ago. Apologies, everybody. I will get the right one in a minute.
No worries.
Yeah, I'll just see. It's like riding a bike, isn't it? It's like riding a bike.
At times it is, but it bears for me to say that a lot of the names that pop up are just names I get fed info about, and it's not always a given that some things will go into detail, because either my source won't tell me or he doesn't know either. So it's not that I'm privy to everything that happens and I got like hidden cameras at Continassa or the J Medical, but we try to do our best and we try to provide you with the info that we get. And like Zach already mentioned, things can shift quickly, especially now with new management, and that's maybe the red line throughout this all. There are a bit of misaligned views within management and makes it very difficult to have one clear general consensus and one clear view about everything that's happening about players coming in or out. So yeah, let's get to it.
Yeah, so the first look, we've done what 20 of these, and this is the first time I picked up the wrong spreadsheet or the wrong PowerPoint. Hiccups, apologies, but let's get to it. This is our names, and unlike every single other scoop, we're actually starting with current players who might leave. Usually we do it the other way around, but I think we want to address both Keenan Yildiz and Weston McKennie. We have that list as potential departures. Mostly, though, this is less them leaving and more so to provide an update on the rumors surrounding contract renewals for both of these players. So, Frederick, why don't you give us the information in turn for Yildiz and McKennie with regards to a renewal?
They're both progressing fairly smoothly in terms of renewal. I'll start with Kenan first. There have been some discussions, there have been some meetings, and the last ones were very fruitful in the sense that it's all but done in terms of figures and duration. Should be a contract until 2031, where our good buddy Kenan will earn north of 6 million net, which is something he requested about. The only hiccup right now, or the last detail to iron out, is the signing bonus. Kenan's management really want a signing bonus because he's extending an already long contract, so they expect something else in return. Also, because of the fact that he made some, let's say he met Juventus halfway concerning bonuses and sell-on clauses and whatever, and in return he's asking for a signing bonus, and they're working on that now. So we'll see where that goes. But apart from that, everything is all but done, and we should expect something around March, April, and it should coincide simultaneously, but not like on the day, but in the same time frame as Luciano Spalletti's official renewal for next season. So that's good. With regards to McKennie, also moving along quickly. Not so much so. I don't have a lot of information about the financial aspects. I do know that there were 6 solid offers from other clubs, some from MLS, some from the Premier League, which didn't seem to interest McKennie as much. And over the last 2 meetings, he expressed his desire to continue staying at Juventus, which is good news for Juventus and also for Luciano Spalletti, who's, of course, a big fan. So we'll see where that lands. I imagine that Juventus and McKennie will meet each other halfway somewhere along the line. It's not going to be the 2.5 million Juve suggests or the 6 million that he's demanding, but I could see it ending fairly well at around the 3.5, 4 million mark.
And you're talking net, right? You just to be
Net,
clear.
yeah. I'm always, for the people in chat, I'm
Yeah.
always talking net because the gross figures for me, gross figures are never mentioned in negotiations. So what I hear or the feedback that I get is always the net amount that they want, because due to all these really strange tax regulations in Italy regarding players from outside of the EU, inside of the EU, residency in the EU, no matter what, the gross differs a lot from the net. So I'll always address the net thing, whereas in the US, it's usually the other way around.
No, and that's why I wanted you to say that, or that's why I asked Frederic, because in Italy, I think across all reports, the newspapers, anybody reporting salary, it's always net. But when you go to different countries, United States especially, you'll see sometimes reported in gross. I think EPL reports a lot in gross.
Yeah.
And so for the sake, we have a very international audience, so it's good. It's important, I think, to at least remind folks about that, Frederic. Thank you. So
You're welcome.
It seems like, because earlier this month, so it was not too long ago, we were talking about it. Where is this renewal with Yildiz? McKennie's on his way out, but Spalletti wants him, but there's been nothing. Has the shift in both of these players been because they've had a second to think about Juventus's offer, or more so because they see a future in the sporting project that Juventus is putting together?
I think it's a bit of both, sprinkled with a little bit Luciano Spalletti on top, because Luciano Spalletti is a big fan of both of them, gives them enough playing time, talks to them a lot, on training grounds and during the game, as we saw live as well. And the fact Yıldız's renewal was never in danger, so to speak. That there are, of course, some hijackers that want to get Kenan in, but he's feeling very good at Juventus, and I think from what I can tell, he had personal talks with not only Comoli but also with John Elkan. So I think that both of them reassured Kane on what the future plans are, and where we intend to go as a club, and maybe that was a factor that was also decisive. With McKennie, it's partially the same thing, bar the fact that McKennie really, really likes Spalletti as a coach, and Spalletti likes him. And of course, if you know that this coach is here to stay for at least a couple of years, you feel good and you think you can financially gain something by extending your contract, then I think it's a no-brainer. Because in all fairness, for McKennie to play second violin in the Premier League, having to start over again, is a bit difficult, and the fact that he has a new Italian girlfriend might have something to do with it. With the fact that he wants to stay in Italy, you never know. These are all. I mean, it sounds fun, but it sounds funny, but a lot of these details usually end up being a decisive factor in negotiations. So,
Needless to say, for a potential departure, we have Yildiz is cold to leave, arguably ice cold. McKennie cool because he only has a few months left on his contract. But the message here is both are looking somewhat fondly on the offer or the negotiations like going with Juventus to extend their contracts. As Frederic said, both of these are not going to happen now. So we will track these probably during our off-season once a month-ish scoop episodes as that develops, and or through scoops of the day on our Instagram page. So please, if you don't already, follow Turin Giants and the Scoop Juve on Instagram for that information. Let's move into what I think people are more interested in, at least for today, is potential additions. What we have on our list is 3 fullbacks, 2 strikers. Let's start with Oscar Mingueza, because the Celta de Vigo, I guess both-sided fullback who plays both left and right, was linked almost as a guaranteed arrival, and then that got delayed. Where do we stand with regards to what probably was our highest likely arrival at the fullback position today?
Yep. And I'm gonna put them together, because for Mingueza and Martinez, the story is pretty much the same. The focus now is not on them. We tried. Ottolini went to Spain. We did what we have to do, or what we could do, but there's no opening in the sense that we wanted to get players on a loan, potentially with an obligation, especially for Mingueza or Martinez. But that's not in the books. So it's going to be very difficult to lure them in. And Juventus decided to shift their efforts onto somebody else, in a sense that they could bring Mingueza and or Martinez in, but I highly doubt that it will be for this transfer market, should they not decide to pay the clause, which can be done in 5 minutes time, and the player is a Juventus player officially. But it bears noticing that both Mingueza and Martinez have verbally agreed with Juventus on personal terms. So should something happen, we don't have to go through the player negotiations, because that's all but done. With regards to salary or whatever, I have no idea. Literally don't. But we're just focusing and shifting our priority now. So that's why we marked them both as cool for the moment, which would not mean that they're off the table for the coming 48 hours or the summer, but simply we aren't putting them as our number 1 list of priorities right now.
Now, I know Mingueza, his contract expires at the end of the year. And so I think what it is is Celta is balancing sporting goals, help him get the sporting goals for this year, and then let him go on a free versus getting a couple million in and potentially failing to have a replacement and jeopardizing their sporting goals, since they're kind of a bubble team right now in the Liga. But what about Girona's Arnaud Martinez? I don't remember. Does his contract expire at the end of the season?
No, but he has a release clause worth 15 million, and
Mm-hmm.
Juventus tried shifting into that, sum a bit, and asked for, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm going by heart here, asked for 5 million for the loan up until next winter mercato to turn it into an obligation. But I'm not sure. I don't think it was received well by Girona. So let's see. Should they decide to buy him, they can outright purchase him with the clause. They also asked about, reducing the clause a bit, and maybe even like a 5+5 kind of formula.
Mm-hmm.
But Girona didn't like that either. So
I mean,
then
they're part of
stuck with,
they're part of the Citigroup sort of sporting empire, aren't they? So
yeah.
I think, as it comes down to it, they might have the ability to sit back and demand the release clause, at least with a year and a half left on his contract.
Word around the campfire is they're trying to break open his contract and push him to sign for 2030 with a clause worth 50 million. But from what I can tell, he's not interested in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And he really wants to move, and he really wants to move abroad. So we'll see what happens there.
Well, let's move to the fullback who has been maybe the most present in Juventus rumors over the last 24 hours. Emil Holm at Bologna. What's going on with this João Mario swap situation that we're hearing? And is this the most likely deal that we'll see, at least for a fullback, in the next, until the end of the window?
It probably is. We're right now waiting for a response from John Mario's management team as he will accept or not accept Bologna as his new destination. What does it entail? Just a basic swap, a basic loan swap till the end of the season, with an option to buy for both teams. The current issue, or the biggest issue that we had, was the fact that John Mario earns 2.5 million net, whereas Emil Holm only 1.5 net. So in order to speed up the negotiations, Juventus have decided to pay up that 1 million difference to Bologna as well. So we're basically giving João Mario plus 1 million for the loan of João Mario, in return getting Emil Holm as a loan.
Well, prorated, right? I mean, it would be
it would
4 or 5 months. It would be the full. It'd be 500,000, 423,000 euro.
Yeah.
Give or take. All right. So, well, needless to say, it sounds like we're just waiting for João Mario's okay. But what temperature do you give the arrival of Emil Holm?
I'd consider him red hot. Why? Because he's not a starter for Bologna at the time being. And let's be honest, if you're a Bologna player and you get word that you can move to Juventus, I think you'll do everything you can in order to make that move happen. So regardless, if they should do the swap with João Mario, should João Mario decline, feel that Bologna and Juventus will find a way to make it work and get Emil Holm to Juve. But I'm pretty sure that João Mario will accept, given the fact there are no other.
Yeah,
he needs to play, and there are no other offers remotely for him. So it's a waiting game now. It should happen any minute now, to be honest.
Now we take a deep breath, because it's time to talk strikers. Spalletti said, "I need a big physical striker." We had several scoops where we talked Mateta. We had scoops where we talked En-Nesyri. En-Nesyri was basically a done deal. That it wasn't. So now we sit here with no striker, despite Spalletti's request. And all of our eyeballs looking at the Cagliari game where we could not score based on the 576,000 crosses that we pumped in. No striker on the books. Any striker arriving seeming like a long shot. Yet we have 2 on our list. Let's start with the name that people have been really talking about, the return of Randall Colomwani. Where do we stand with regards to this?
We'll keep on fighting till the last minute of transfer day. This is our main priority. This is the striker that's been identified by Spalletti and management as the striker we need to bring in. There's also willingness from Kolo's part to join Juventus again. He's still in the WhatsApp group with a lot of players. So they're still in touch. The biggest, where we thought that PSG would be the biggest issue, turns out to be false. Because we had today even a talk with PSG, and they guaranteed Juventus that they will collaborate on a potential transfer, even with regards to the formula or whatever. So they're very open.
That's big news. That's big news, though. That's big news, Frederic, because all of us were saying PSG. If they're not in the roadblock, what is it? Just Tottenham ensuring that they can get a warm body, like Mateta or somebody like that over there. Is that what the hang up is?
It's Tottenham holding back, not knowing if they can get somebody in, not knowing because, as you know, a lot of their strikers are injured, or at least the offensively minded players are injured. So they're on the fence there. They're not very keen on letting Colomwani go at this point because they're also progressed in the Champions League, which for them is very big, especially given the fact that they have to play. Forgot the name. Help me out. They're playing Liverpool, right? Yeah.
No, they have a bye. Don't they have a bye? And so they're either gonna play us or the winner of our Galatasaray match, or Atletico versus Club Brugge. So yeah.
Yeah. And so Tottenham is very reluctant to let him go. We keep insisting, we keep trying. And from what I hear, Colomwani himself is making various efforts to ensure that he can come back to Turin as well. We'll see if that works. The reason as to why we talked to PSG today was in order to get them to put some pressure on Tottenham as well, because they're still owners of his contract.
Yeah.
We'll see if that helps, but we'll do everything we can up until the last minute to try to get him in. And I don't know if anybody saw the press conference of Spalletti today, but again, he was very adamant about adding this striker that he needs. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But we're trying effortlessly to get him in.
Andre recommends swapping Openda loan for Colo loan, which I think 99.9% of Juventus supporters would take. Unfortunately, life is not so simple.
Life is not a pony camp, so I'm afraid we'll have to let that dream pass by. I think we have more chance of Antonio Conte tattooing the Juve logo on his forehead. So needless to say, it's going to be very, very difficult. Myself, I'm not as optimistic about the whole procedure because, well, there are 2 days left. Still a lot of work to be done.
No. Hold on. Things happen up until the last second, right? In the transfer like this, you need Juve management and coach and so forth all on board. They are, right? You need PSG management and books and everything all on board. You need the player management and so forth all on board. You have all of that. The last thing is you have a team who loaned a player that they don't have a buy clause on, if I'm not mistaken. It's just a dry loan. Okay, to then send. I mean, as long as they have a player to replace, and that can be a big if depending on the circumstances. But that was not the hangup that I thought it was going to be. I thought the hangup was going to be in PSG. I'm encouraged by knowing that Tottenham is the holdup relative to PSG.
Slightly more complicated than that, because should Tottenham not agree and should PSG go forward with the deal and break the contract with Tottenham, Tottenham can sue them for a lot of money.
Well, no one, I don't think anyone's recommending they do that.
No, of
Break their
course not. But the fact of the matter remains, if Tottenham just says no, even though it's just a loan, he's only going to be there for 4 months still, maybe more after that, who knows? They have the deciding factor in this whole party of games, game of parties, sorry. So if they say no, it's no. And then we can put pressure, and Colo can put pressure, and PSG can put pressure. It won't amount to anything if they just say no, because um, they have everything in order. They have no financial gain. I think at this point, for them, it's a lose lose situation. So if they don't open up like a week ago when we first started talks,
Mhm.
with them still having a week to find a warm body to replace him, and we're a week later and they're still saying like, nah, I don't think it's gonna happen, then I think it'll be very difficult to get some progress in the next 48 hours. But I've seen crazier things in my life. I've seen Moji pull out as Zlatan Ibrahimovic on deadline day along with Cannavaro. So anything can happen.
Needless to say, the temperature for Kolomwani as of now.
Well, I think we can all agree that it's room temperature because it's not exactly in our hands. There are no active negotiations going on, but it's still in the works, and let's see what the last day will bring. And I'm hoping, if Zach's agenda and mine will allow it, that we can join you guys on the final hour of deadline day or something, to see maybe if we can pull another rabbit out of our hat.
So wait, what is the
But we'll see.
deadline day? What expires? What Monday at
Uh,
8
Monday,
p.m.
yeah,
Italian time?
European, yeah,
All right, so
yeah.
that'd be lunchtime for me here in the States. Yeah, I think we could I think we could do figure something out if need be. If there's anything happening. I mean,
Yeah,
look, the last name on our list today is Alvaro Morata. Yeah, that just kind of maybe indicative of the lack of movement that's happened this window.
yeah.
But we're not putting him on there for the memes or the trolls. Frederic, are we due for a round 3 with our good friend?
It is possible. I'm not gonna say that it's gonna happen, but I know for a fact that Chiellini messaged him because, well, they were teammates, so obviously they have each other's number. And he asked his availability in order should something not happen in terms of Koulibaly or maybe
Hmm.
another backup striker, which I'm unaware of, which also could be. And he said yes, of course. So that's the ace up our sleeve, if you can call it that. A very old, used ace, but an ace nonetheless.
Look, I like Murata. Okay, I do. But if that's your ace, it's like your trump card as a 33-year-old striker who it plays garbage minutes at Como. If that I mean, nobody's intimidated by that. I mean, I do think he can still do a job, but that's not really an ace in the hole.
I
I
I
don't know what the right metaphor would be, but it's not like it's not like the supporters of Juventus are going to be like, well, now we're in the Scudetto and Champions League hunt because we brought Murata back.
I didn't even like him when I was 32, so go figure now. I think he has little to no value to bring to this Juventus side. I don't even know why that panic SMS message was sent, because I'd rather stay, without any striker than to have him fill the ranks. But I'm not the president or the technical director at Juventus at this point, so it's hard for me to make those calls. But there is some truth to that, and that's why I wanted to put him in our show as well, because a lot of people online were saying, "No, it's gonna be bullshit. It's just a name that they pull out of their asses." But there is some communication going back and forth, which could be everything or nothing at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and he's only played 700 minutes, give or take, in this season. That's more than halfway done. Not playing on. He hasn't had 10 goal contributions in a season for several years now. Um, Again, not that I dislike Alvaro. It's just I don't know if he's going to be a meaningful acquisition to satisfy Spalletti's request for larger striker. Regardless, because the communication has happened, Frederic, and we're honor bound to share that with everybody. What temperature do you put as to a potential arrival of Alvaro Morata?
I put him at room temperature simply because at this point, if you text a guy, anything can happen.
Hmm.
And because of also the fact that um, I just got confirmation as to what happened, but not more explanation. So I can't really divulge on that, and I don't want to create my own backstory. So this is just what I heard. So I'll leave him a bit in the middle, and I'll leave him at room temperature.
Gotcha. Well, this concludes the names of at least our program for today. But as always, we like to go down and address each and one of your questions or comments in the chat. If you have questions about a player, like I saw one about Demirovic, or about management or anything like that, put it in the chat. We're going to go down now and tackle them each in turn. So please put that in the chat. Let me scroll back up. And as I do it, say hi to folks. Osama, Zimandia, Sabalito, King Medicine, Mickle, and folks I hadn't said hi to before. We appreciate all of you joining us in chat on this, at least where I am, fine Saturday afternoon. A lot of congratulations here, by the way, Frederic, on surpassing 100 episodes. I agree. It is an
Nice.
absolute wonderful milestone. Okay, let's go to the most important question in this entire list is, when will Kevin embrace glorious baldness? And I think this is a serious question, one that you and I at least take
Very.
to heart, and we spoke
Yep.
a little bit about in turn. And I think it's needless to say, I think our good friend Kevin will hold on as long as he possibly can.
For dear life. But
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, we made an agreement on Bepe's show this past Thursday.
we
Can't
did.
remember what it was.
Nope.
Yeah.
I don't either.
So I'll urge everybody in chat or the people that are interested in Kevin's hairline to look that episode on YouTube, where you can see where Kevin makes an online promise as to when he will shave his head and join the bald crew. I can't remember what it was exactly,
I,
but I know
I
that was a very realistic goal. So being the positive guy that I am, I look forward to grabbing my clippers and my Gillette with the 5 blades and going ham on Kevin's head.
For those of you who, few of you who might be like, who in the heck is Kevin? Kevin is one of our Turn Giants crew members who's done lots of episodes with us and will be hosting this
Yeah.
weekend's post game episode as well.
By the way, Ozzy's right. He said if RKM joins, he said he'll shave it. So I'm literally clinging on to dear life to my phone, hoping I get some notification that the deal's done.
Well, that would be
So
huge.
that would be huge. That would be like getting a striker in and getting Kevin's head done. I mean, like Christmas. But
It really would be. It'd be Christmas in January/February.
yeah,
Alrighty, let's more to a more serious Juventus question. Do we believe we can get top four without any Mercato? I've said this before. I do believe we can get top four without Mercato. I think that it's going to mean we crash out of the Champions League pretty quickly here. And if we get one meaningful injury, then that might get shot. But this team has shown, at least our starting crew has shown over the last 12 games, 10 wins, one loss, one draw, against some good opposition in there as well, that Spalletti has our starting 11 playing at a very high level. Frederic, your thoughts about getting top four without any new players?
it depends on so many factors that we need to take into account of how will Roma perform? Will their teams that be falling back? Will we get some injuries? Will we get players recuperating? Will we get players that perform better than they do now, or will their form decline? There's so many factors that decide that. I'm on the fence about that one. I feel it's necessary, and I said that before in this window, to sign at least three players on three different positions in order to fortify your chances of making at least top three, in my opinion. And
Hmm.
for now, we haven't done that. So I'm a bit more on the pessimistic side, especially after that Monaco game, which was a very hard watch. But
Yeah, our B team, not that good.
no, and that's the issue. These are the guys that you count on to replace our starters, and you see what a job they did. So
Hmm.
I'll withhold any judgment up until later on, but it's gonna be a difficult one.
Yeah. Unholy Fun notes that we got a new gem from Bayern. I don't know what gem he is, but Aiden Lachina, if that's how his name is pronounced,
Yeah.
um, sort of a left-footed right winger slash trequartista, kind of the opposite of Yildiz. Definitely shows some promise, and I'm curious to see how quickly he can contribute at the next gen level to potentially leap into first team training and maybe some bench appearances. Frederick, what's your take on, we've sent a couple young players, the Turkish
Yeah.
Dutch player from Ajax who's a little bit younger.
Yeah.
Than Aiden. But
Uh,
what is your think specifically on Aiden from Bayern?
he's a very, very big talent, not yield as big, but a potential very, very, very good player. Kind of the same playing style, likes dribbling, very fast and quick on his feet. Has a nose for the goal, is a bit of a poacher in that respect. Um, so he has all the makings of becoming a great player. And I'm very glad that we decided to get him in, because I know that there were a lot of teams onto him because his contract expires this summer.
And that's why we
And
got him on the
yeah,
free, right? Yeah.
and we anticipated that, but we had to give him the 30% sell-on clause to Byron in order to get him in.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a year younger than Yildiz, or a year and a half.
Yeah, he's 19 right
Yeah,
now.
but huge potential, and Spalletti also saw that in him. And I honestly think that should he adapt very soon, that Spalletti will not hesitate to bring him in the first team, especially given the conditions of our right wingers at this point.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a world class player in order to get picked above them. So
Chico and
I'm happy about
Jabrova.
that.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm Aiden here, I'm coming and looking at those dudes ahead of me. I'm like, dude, if I can cook here in the next couple weeks, yeah, I might find myself on the main stage because I mean, we're playing Moretti, central midfielder as right winger or
Yeah,
right now because we don't have anybody.
yeah.
Um, Going down the list, um, let's see here. I think Mikel says it's a very dangerous strategy to save the money for the summer, and I just want to note that I don't think it's a matter of saving money for the summer. I think we just don't have money until the summer. I think what it is is trying to get whatever bargain deals may or may not exist because the team doesn't have money now. And so you have to say, oh, we'll give you a loan and pay it off later, or dry loan for nothing because we have no money. So I don't think it's a product of saving. I think it's a product of not having.
No,
Is that your
and
take, Frederic?
it is, and it also, the financial fair play is still going around. So if you do anything, I wouldn't say shady, but I mean, if you do anything that, because these rules are so unclear for financial fair play, they're really unclear. My source told me that there's like this register of financial fair play rules you need to be adherent to, and it's 130 pages with all
Yeah.
just rules and clauses and if then, not then, what then. these kind of things.
And you know that,
So
and what's even worse is that it's not evenly applied to teams. I mean, we're talking about
no,
PSG and Man City in this, and let's be
no.
real.
Also, the fact that there are no boundaries set for the offenses that you might create. So, in other regulations, if you commit some sort of a foul with regards to the rules, you get a fixed fine of X amount of euros. Now that's not the case. Now it's just UEFA deciding, oh, oh, Juventus, we'll give them a 50 million fine because they're Juventus. Next PSG, at 10 euros, we good, man. So
No,
it's
UEFA will pay you 10 euros.
yeah.
PSG,
So
we're sorry to
it's
inconvenience you. Yeah.
yeah. So it's illogical, and I think the strategy of treading carefully at this point, which is a forced strategy, but could prove to be a very healthy one in the longer term. Which doesn't mean that it's nice now because we're sitting here scratching our ass as well, and we have a transfer show to present. But keeping in mind of all the logical things that are set in motion now, it makes sense in that respect. So
Don't like it, but it makes sense.
yeah,
All right, next question. Ozymandias asks about Ermedin Demirovic, the big striker at Stuttgart. He's heard some rumblings about the player. Any truth to it with regards to Juventus?
his agent offered him to us, and he was taking a bit into account, but in management there were more nays than yays. So they kind of parked him on the let's see if we don't get anyone in, and maybe we'll try to have a swing at him. But for now, there's no contact or negotiating or whatever. So it was thrown out there, was suggested to us, but we didn't, went deeper into that. So
He's got a contract to 2028. He plays for them. That might, I don't think that would fit in with our formula. Just kind of running it through my
no,
sort of like the different factors that go into play for these transfers. It doesn't seem likely.
I think that was one of the reasons why he was botched in terms of him not meeting the criteria that we set forward to.
Oh well, and we finally got down in the chat. I'm surprised it took this long to see this name, JJ Sachin Benzema. Frederic, we talked a little bit about Benzema on Pepe's show. I was not particularly for getting Benzema, in at least this version of Benzema, into Juventus. What news, what information, what have you heard with regards to Benzema coming back to Europe and donning the black and white?
I think Benzema's coming back to Europe, and I think he's going to go somewhere in France. Wouldn't surprise me if he started, getting his new team or his old team in new form. But I don't think that him and Juventus are going to be something. His son was very pushy towards him. His son is a big Juventus fan, by the way. There were some explorative talks, something, to see, is there something that can be done here? But bureaucratically and dealing with, his owners or the owners he's playing for right now is very challenging, time consuming. So even if something was about to be afoot, I think that the odds of us eventually landing him, even though if we wanted to or he wanted to join, would be just incomparable, next to impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, that one doesn't pass the smell test, despite him being 38 years old, and you maybe, get him on a relative good deal, kind of like the Modric to Milan move. But we're not talking apples to apples in that sense. Certainly not with what he's currently making and so forth. So, yeah, that one I don't see that one coming. Bogdan says hello. Josh is joining us. Some folks have popped in here. throughout. We appreciate LJJ, RB Comps, and some folks. We appreciate everybody who has been contributing and watching. This honestly is a lot of fun because of y'all. So we appreciate it. We appreciate you. Josh wants to know, hey, I'll say this might be the most present and an interesting topic and question we've gotten this entire month. Frederic, what specifics surround Openda's obligation? I think a lot of us are rightfully acknowledged by this point. Openda's really not a Juventus player tactically. And we're nervous about dropping a 40+ million euro on a player who is just going to join Coop, Douglas Luiz, Nico Gonzalez, Artur, and all these other guys who have just crashed and burned. You had said, I know, one point in time that there was an indication that there might be a termination penalty where we can send them back, pay a penalty. I know that's true in some cases. Why don't we set the record straight a little bit on what you do know about his obligation and what might be at play, knowing that the fine print of a lot of these deals are locked in a safe somewhere so that your source or nobody can, can crack it.
That's the thick of it. A lot of these fine prints, they're not published on the website. They're literally kept in a safe by the legal team. So it's very difficult to get to that info. What I do know is that if an Openda has been all but officially botched by Spalletti and management, if we are obliged to sign him, that we will go into talks with Leipzig about possible dilution of the formula or loaning him out to either Leipzig or some of their satellite clubs. And from what I can hear, my source is telling me that after the Yildiz extension, we'll try to pick up talks with Leipzig to see what we can do, to see what, if we can resolve this issue, if something can be done, whatever it may be. But we'll try to do some damage control, so to speak, if there's no possibility of just paying that penalty, which I don't think Comoli would do either, because then you're losing 15 million apart from the wage you already paid, and you have nothing for in return. Maybe with loaning him out or getting another team with an obligation to get him could set you back a bit more and keep the books a bit more financially healthy. So a lot of work needs to be put in that, because for now I'm quite 99.9% sure that Openda will not have a significant role within the Juventus first squad next season.
It doesn't make sense. Even if you have to buy him, and it's like he doesn't fit. He doesn't fit. He's a Bologna, Fiorentina player, at least from a Serie A perspective. Like you go back to Bundesliga where there's more room. You go to Spain where there's more space, but here in Serie A, and especially for Juventus, and it's like, that's not commenting about the qualities of the player, just tactically speaking, qualities aside, tactically speaking. Yeah, it's probably.
I feel he'd do well if he had this big physical striker next to him. If we can draw the lines and the parallels between him and Šeško, where he did well, but we don't have the time to get that physical striker in and get them to amalgate with each other. There's just no time for that.
But even if we had that, it would only work against the top 6 teams who are willing to play more open. Against all the other teams that sit back, he's not gonna have any space.
No, like we said, I mean, it was a mystery to us in August, I think, when we did our final episode.
We talked about it,
and it's February now, and it's still a mystery to us. So I can see this developing into something more positive, especially given the fact that he received his chance on Wednesday. You'd assume that, given the proper motivation, that he'd be all or nothing for that game, but it was nothing. So, and I know for a fact that Spalletti was mad individually at some players for the performance Wednesday. He played it very low key in the press conference, and
Mhm.
wow,
It doesn't matter.
nah.
No,
But
no.
he was livid with some
No, as
players.
someone who you
Just
manage teams and stuff, you look at that performance, and it could be the last game of the season where you've already won the Scudetto by 40 points, and I would be pissed. I mean, it's
Yep.
you don't go out there. That's not a professional. Whatever. We don't
Yep.
need to rehash what we all saw with our eyes. Osama
Yep.
says, in my fantasy world, Chico has a good World Cup, so we can sell him for a profit. Jagrova returns to full fitness as a starter, and Lachina does well and joins the team for squad next season. That's not really a question, but I think this kind of leads me to two things. First off, sort of a point, and second off, a request to all of you listening and watching. The point is that the World Cup has the opportunity, and we see this every World Cup, every international tournament, really, to throw the value of players out of whack. There will be players in this World Cup, as a matter of fact, who's going to come out of seemingly nowhere and are just going to be gods. And people are going to be like, we need this player, sign him. Please tell me we're going after him. There's other players who are going to crash out, either get injured or are just going to be absolutely terrible. And people are going to be like, get him out of our squad. He's terrible, and he's going to nuke his own transfer value. Chico does tend to perform well in Portugal, and considering the more teams, there could be watered down competition such that a guy like him has the opportunity to absolutely run up some numbers. Jagrova, Kosovo has not qualified for the World Cup. I think they're in the playoffs, so they're not out yet. But it's a possibility, if they do make it, that he could contribute meaningfully to a squad that needs someone like him to contribute meaningfully for them to have any chance whatsoever. So that's going to be something that we are obviously going to watch, and that leads me to my request. I actually sent out a message to the broader Turin Giants team, so this gives you a little look behind the curtain, earlier today, about starting to set our strategy and plan for the summer content, certainly as it surrounds the World Cup. A lot of times transfer activity, at least as it pertains to the Scoop, is put on hold for players playing in the World Cup because the players want to focus on that competition and don't really want to be bothered by contract matters until after the competition is over. And so I was just kind of curious to all of you, since we follow Juventus, and this is a Juventus channel turned Giant, not just the Scoop. What kind of content would you guys like to see over the summer from the World Cup? There's certain ideas of where each one of us, and we've kind of a pretty big team, each one of us takes a group just to kind of give you, hey, what's going on, what's happening, what are the players to watch out for. There we could do it where we only follow Juventus players. How did so-and-so play in this game? What do they do? How they contribute? Break that down for y'all. There could be, I'm sure, brackets and so forth at various websites where we could just do a Turn Giants bracket, and all of us kind of get in, predict who's going to win what, and maybe give out some swag or something to the top finishers or the like. Please put in the comments to this video and in the chat what you would kind of like to see from the Turn Giants. We'll say staff, unpaid staff, for the summer in terms of content, because we're sort of trying to chew on ideas as well. And y'all spend your time with us. And so I think the most influential input that we can get would be from you. So if you want to hear something specific from us or have some ideas of what you'd like to hear from us, put it in the chat and put it in the comments, whether it be an Apple, Spotify, YouTube, we will read them. Or you can DM us on Instagram, Zach Talks Calcio, The Scoop Juve, or at Turin Giants.
Nice. We got a lot of reactions in the chat right now, so that's
we
good.
are. I'm still scrolling down. So RB Comp says, upset we didn't go for Mateta, and I think that's somewhat unfair. We did kind of go for Mateta. I think this was a product of there being interest from other teams. And Crystal Palace, being a Premier League team, didn't need to settle for our, loan to buy formula. right, Frederic? So I think it's a product of we did go. We were hamstrung by our financial situation, and Crystal Palace had the flexibility to look elsewhere. Yeah.
Supply and demand. We had the demand, but we couldn't afford the. I mean, and these things happen, and I've seen a lot of criticism. Some was very just, some was a little more unjust, according to myself.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point, you do everything you can, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you go overboard and you do even more than what you can do, like we did with Ronaldo, and that's not always the solution either. So especially in this transfer market. So I want to say, even though up until now it's been pretty useless, hang in there, and let us just judge everything in the end of August, like we always try to do, because this is a very difficult market to
Mm-hmm.
assess anything and see what the strategy or tactics are here. So
I forgot I could put the comments and questions up on the screen. I've done over 100 of these and I'm still forgetting stuff. I'm sorry, guys. It's maybe I had the wrong spreadsheet earlier. Maybe it's just not my
doesn't
not
matter.
my day.
Doesn't matter.
Lukic says hi. Mitch says hi. Imran says, I want to watch your show, but I don't want your opinions until Thursday. Well, Imran, I'll tell you, by Thursday, any opinions we have today will be ancient history. So, as we say in Texas, porque no los dos. Tune in to us today.
Also, there is no Beppe show on Thursday.
No, you're right. You're right. We'll probably do that on Wednesday. You're right. Yep. This week, because we have the game on Thursday, for which I will be hosting the post game. That's the Copa game against Atalanta, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
JJ wants to know what AI did Kamoli use to find Openda. My guess is Football Manager. He just used
Pro Evolution Soccer 2022.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that was the year. Was it 22-23 or was it 23-24 where he was class at Leipzig?
Yeah, but that was 1 year.
Yeah, it was 1 year. Argon Fit says, "What about guys like Castro? Oh, that's Bologna's striker, right? Or Pellegrino?
Yeah.
That's Parma's striker. Yeah.
Parma.
I mean, that's a good question. Haven't we were linked with Castro for a second, weren't we? Pellegrino's a pretty big dude, if I'm not mistaken.
We don't have that kind of pull anymore in Italy.
Yeah.
That's just the thing. Usually we'd have options on every player. We'd buy them, loan them out, keep them on the books, whatever. We just don't have that pull. You go knocking to at the door of Bologna or Parma, and it automatically say, oh, 30, 40, 50 million. Yeah. At this point, it's useless to even try.
Yeah. Maybe they should sign Argon Fit over there. He's a way more fit than I am, and he looks younger than 38-year-old Benzema and potentially 33-year-old Morata. So that's my vote. Sign Argon Fit, Kamoli.
He's fitter than Zigrova.
I might be too, because his injury just won't go away. All right, Christo asks, what about Norton Cuffy? We were linked with them. We know Adelini was said blah blah blah. Then Inter was knocking on the door. What's going on with Norton Cuffy over there at Genoa?
I think that's silent. I don't think they want to let him go in January.
So it'll be a summer thing, which probably increases our odds. Though I'm wondering, to be honest, I'm wondering what fit. Like, clearly Kalulu is the right back starter for Spalletti. I mean, he has no other choice, but Kalulu's been fantastic in my opinion for our team. So I don't think that's money you need to spend unless you can get him for a good deal.
A loan with an obligation would be nice, but Genoa said no. So,
well, we'll see what the summer has in store. Suresh wants to know. Well, we had Murat up there. Why not bring Davide Calabria? And let's bring Berardi while we're at it.
Please God, no. I mean, the Murata news alone was enough for me, not to eat tonight. So let's leave Calabria out of the equation, because no.
Del Piero wants to know whether we talked Colo. Yes, we did. The real, I think, news break for today was, contrary to popular belief, the hang up is not PSG. The hang up more so is on the Tottenham side of business. So Del Piero, you can rewind. I think we talked about him at roughly the 30-minute mark of the show. So you can go back and check that out. It was part of our core thing.
I see Fabrizio Romano followed my lead with home.
Yeah.
Suresh comment. The dialogue between Juventus and home is well underway. Now waiting for Gian Mario, who will speak with Italiano to understand if he's truly convinced.
Yeah. Thank you, Suresh, for posting that from Fabrizio. But we have our own Fabrizio. We have Frederic, and as he said, we only report what information we get. So we're not. Again, we purposely say cut through the noise because we don't engage in regurgitating old news or rumors. Whatever information we get, we report. We did talk about this one earlier in our show. Mitch is not particularly pleased with home. Not a big fan of Comoli. I know several people in chat would agree. Home, if I'm not mistaken, he's a very large right back, and so it'd be, if you look at our defense, the curious position is the left back with Cambiasso sometimes just going off in la land. I wonder if you get a guy like Home, you start him and you move Kalulu over to the left side. I don't know, if it really attacks an area of need or not, truth be told. Frederick's shaking his head. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just feel if you need a left back, go get a left back. Now you got a semi-retired right back. I'm not a big fan of Holm as a right back. I don't know.
Semi-retired? What does that mean? He's 25. He's not semi-retired.
He's 25, but he's been injured so many times. He's technically very weak, in my opinion.
He's more of a pragmatic defender. Maybe it's a diplomatic way to put it.
That's a diplomatic answer. I just don't like him. I can see the logic in between, because you have to get Gian Mario out of there as soon as possible because it's clear that you won't let him play. But to get Holman as a replacement, that reeks of desperation to me. And I find it a bit startling that we're in all these negotiations come across as very desperate. So either A, we haven't done our homework, or B, we don't know how to lead negotiations. And both cases are very concerning to me. So,
I mean, well, look, you kind of touch on something because, and I made fun of you. I always make fun of you, but I made fun of you specifically about over the summer because you said the short list over 100 names, a phrase that has stuck with me because of how so apparently oxymoronic it is. You can have a short list of 100 names. But the thought was when Comoli joined, as he and his big data number crunching noggin would have sort of this complex thought process behind players that fit within sort of his methodology. And if A is not acceptable, then you go to B, then you go to C. And it went from a fullback standpoint with Arnau Martinez and Oscar Mingueza, seemingly, as of now, kind of out of reach. We had them both at cool. All of a sudden, Holden pops up, and it didn't strike me as the calculated next name on a list, but more so like, who can we bring in quick? Oh, hey, there's that guy who's not really playing a ton at Bologna. We could scoop him up and get some playing time for this guy that we randomly traded with Alberto Costa over the summer. Is that your take?
It is, but we need just some clarity, and it wouldn't hurt Comoli to come out and issue kind of a statement saying, okay, we haven't done much. We know that there are several holes in the team, and we'll get them fixed by summer. And our perspective is, in the summer to go big and reinforce the team and blah, blah, blah. Even though it might sound generic, it would bring some comfort to the fans. So I don't know.
All right, we're going to go quick. We're going to wrap up here in just a couple minutes, folks.
I have an off-topic question, I see.
Hold on. We're going to go quickly to get down towards the end. A lot of people said with regards to World Cup content, follow Italy. Our suggestions were good. Others say, general content, drama, so on and so forth. Juve players only. It's just a general show where we can talk together. Thanks, Mitch. We love talking with y'all as well. Abuelito asked, is this a failed Mercado if we don't sign him? We kind of addressed that somewhat weakly earlier in the show. I think the short answer is yes, kind of. Yes, but doesn't necessarily mean doom. Del Piero wants us really badly to renew Coop, start him at all 11 positions immediately. Frederick's having a heart attack just thinking about that. JJ notes that Kalu's crossing is inconsistent. I would agree with that. Suresh is going to bed 2 a.m. in India. That I wouldn't stay up till 2 a.m. even for us, Suresh. We appreciate it, but sleep is more important. Home's not bad. I agree. Dodd. But it's about a matter of staying healthy and getting game time and sort of an opportunity cost. You bring it home to play in the Kalulu spot. What do you do with Kalulu? Unholy Fun asks, off-topic time, what coaches do you hate the most? Fred and Zach. You got Ventura, Del Neri, and Pep. We might end on that one. Let's see. There's 2 more comments. Just jumped in now. DR1S. I apologize. We will be wrapping up very shortly. Good to see you, but we'll be finishing quick. And Slavy says, hope we get a striker. And give Kalulu a break, which he has not received all season yet. I get that. Rotation is important. We're tracking the striker front. Stay tuned at the Scoop Juve and Turn Giants on Instagram. We'll give you any scoops of the day that we get between now and our next episode. Maybe we finish with Unholy Fun's question and then we call it a day. Yep. And I'll be real quickly, because I hate nobody. I'm the one I will say, and I'm sort of making my own question out of Unholy Fun's question, but the one coach. Really, when we were talking over the summer about bringing in a new coach and the big rumor was Conte coming back, I was really, really, really against that. Not that there's anything personally against Antonio Conte for what he did as a player and certainly what he did as a coach, but that time had passed. And I think people thinking about the past success ignore the effect he has in the locker room and on management, where he always leaves a place worse than when he found it by blowing things up internally. And so while I don't hate Conte, I do not want to see him on the bench for Juventus ever again.
Yep. And with regards to me, because I don't hate anyone, or at least not that bad, especially not coaches, but in this order would be Mancini, Conte, and Pep. That's my top 3 of obnoxious.
And by the way, Pep didn't make ball boring. Guys like Pep and Zidane brought us mainstream.
Yeah, I have another opinion about that. But Pep's whole football revolution was something I disliked from the start. But it's an evolution, and we followed it. So there has to be some truth in that, but that doesn't mean that we have to like it. So I'm gonna stand by my my top 3 list for this moment now.
All right, everybody. We wish we could spend more time with you, but we have to get back to our children, who are kindly waiting for us to finish talking with all of you. So we're going to let you go for now. Like I said, stay tuned for Scoop News on our Instagram page. And if the circumstances are correct with work schedules and potential arrivals, you will be seeing Frederick and myself again on Monday for sort of an end of the transfer market sort of news segment, or hopefully where hopefully we're talking about the addition of a couple new players. We appreciate each and every one of you. Frederick, again, congratulations on now over 100 episodes. And until next time, as always, to everyone, Forza Juve.